You're listening to WYBF 89.1 FM in Radnor. Special edition tonight. I have rapper, artist Heath McNease in studio. And you are an amazing, complex individual. And when you shared with me, now, is Pen Pals different than Gold?
Pen Pals is the project. Pen Pals is the name of the group of
Okay.
me and Jetty, and Gold is the name of the EP. Yes.
Okay. I am a very simple individual.
Yes.
Ha. You know, and I used to say I was an analog man in the digital world, but I am on the digital side of the board, operating all the buttons.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't say that lie anymore.
Yeah.
However, you did a CD with an artist who you weren't in the same studio, you weren't in the same city, dear Lord, you weren't even in the same state.
Yeah.
And you produced what we're going to hear.
Yes. Yes.
That blows my mind. That's spectacular. So tell me, how this all... Because
Okay.
we play Jetty stuff in the air every once in a while.
Yes. Okay. So the name of this this EP that I just put out is called Gold. It's a project. The group is me, myself, and this amazing singer-songwriter. Her name is Jetty, Jetty Rae, R-A-E, Jetty Rae. She's got the voice of an angel. And we're called Pen Pals. And I've been a fan of Jetty's for a long time. I had been going through these talks with this record label pretty much all year, and it was really coming to a stalemate, and it was my fault for assuming I could ever fit into some like big record label thing. But I mean, no, I needed to go through it. I felt like God was calling me through that thing, and so when I was coming to the end of that thing and realizing it wasn't going to happen, I started writing this project with Jetty in mind, but I hadn't talked to Jetty about it yet because I wanted to kind of crystallize what I wanted to do. The thing about EPs that I think are so cool is that an EP, you know, between 4 to 7 songs, you know, I feel like you can, because I'm a huge fan of short stories. Like, I love, that's why Nathaniel Hawthorne's one of my favorite writers. Like, Mark Twain, amazing short stories.
Absolutely.
Like, to be able to, like, you can tell these. I remember this pastor, he told us, he said a really short prayer before lunch at this church that I was playing at. And somebody just said immediately, that was a really short prayer, Pastor. And he was like, well, just real dignified guy. He was like, well, a prayer doesn't need to be everlasting in length to be eternal in scope.
Whoa.
And it's how I feel about short stories. Like, you can tell something that's just as impactful in a really short, you know, concerted amount of time. And the thing about EPs is, especially if you're trying to tell a story, it doesn't collapse under the weight of its self-importance, you know. And so Gold is loosely about this sort of rise and fall of like a summer love, a summer relationship, starting with like, you know, the really happy, you know, go lucky, I'm meeting this person, to the end. And it's not that it's a tragedy. I don't look back on summer loves and summer relationships negatively. I look back and it's bittersweet, you know, like you just sort of take leave of your senses for a little while and you say, this can work. And then you both get back to the towns that you live in. And you're like, oh yeah, I don't have a car. She doesn't have a car. We'll never see each other. And she's going to fall in love with the quarterback of the football team and blah, blah, blah. And so, there's just something bittersweet about it. And I knew that I could tell that story and I wanted to tell it and have it ready to go by the end of summer. So I started writing a few songs. And Jetty is married, and she's been married for she got married young, and her husband is awesome. Her husband's super cool. I've been a fan of Jetty's voice, and her husband is the nicest guy. And so I wanted to talk to him really before I talked to her, and just to make sure that you know, he was cool with it, because I was like, look, man, you know, I just want you to be cool with it, because, you know, I have a lot of like, you know, fans that are females, and they might hate her, you know, because they think we're dating or whatever.
Yes.
And which is, it isn't the case.
Well, I did see you in concert this afternoon, and you were kind of mobbed by teeny boppers afterwards.
It happens.
And they're very fragile little beings that you don't want to break their
protective,
little hearts.
protective,
Yes.
and they're supportive, and it means their support means everything. But also, and then they they don't care after like 20 seconds. They're worried about somebody else.
Yes, let's get tacos.
Somebody that's cooler. I was like, and I don't want you to be in a position where you think, that people think we're dating or whatever. And so whatever I can do, and it's not like I had to say that really. It's just to communicate to him first.
Yeah.
And so he was like, I just want Jetty to be into it. If she's into it, I'm into it. And so she heard some of the demos and she was so down. And so Jetty is so pregnant right now, like with her second child. Like she could be having her baby right now as we speak. And when I was talking to her about it at the end of June, it was kind of getting close to that time, and she was like, I feel like this is God, sort of directing this, because me and Jason were bummed that we weren't going to be able to put out a record this year because of the baby. And she said, so the fact that you already have these songs ready to go, that's amazing. And so I took care of, the writing, and I did the music and my vocals, and then I just sent that over to her. And what I wanted her to do was just make the record way better by being the amazing vocalist that she is, because she can do a million things vocally, and I can do like 2. And so,
but you can do it really fast.
Yeah, I can. 3 feet in a cloud of dust. Like she can do whatever. And but she's such a great songwriter. I didn't want her to feel like I thought that my songs belonged on this project, and she shouldn't. She just wasn't in a place where she could write lyrically, but she basically was a writer in what she did melodically and vocally, and she made the record. She's the star of the record for sure. I'm happy. I feel like Karen Carpenter's brother, is it Richard or Roger? Richard. Yeah. He just arranged things
and played keyboard and smiled in the background and wore tuxedos.
And sang, but like she was the thing, right? She was the star. And,
it's like Captain and Tennille. It was...
Sonny and Cher. Jetty's the star of the record. I'm just the guy who...
You're holding the door.
Yeah, and I'm so okay with that, because I'm such a huge fan of hers, and my fans are now fans of hers, and I wanted that so bad for her because she deserves it. And people have been fawning over this record. Like, it's so crazy how much it makes me think like I should have been singing with Jetty a long time ago, because my fans, I think, like me better when she's singing with me. But I think it's also because writing a song with a girl in mind is way different than writing a song just for me. And so you have to soften some edges, you have to make things something sharper, and then also I respect her so much, and so I wanted to do a project with a girl, but I wanted it to be with someone I wasn't going to fall in love with, or somebody that's going to fall in love with me, and we have this contentious relationship or whatever. Like with Jetty, it's out of mutual respect and admiration, and we really were. That's why we call it pen pals, because we respect each other. We've hung out. I can count on 2 hands the amount of times I've even kicked it with Jetty.
Cool.
Well,
let's hear it. This is Gold with Heath McNease and Jetty Rae.